Yo, what is going on, everyone, and welcome back to episode 4. So this is particularly, I believe this is going to be the final episode for the bare basics, and that will get you started to mess around with the C++ language and create simple strings, different things like that. Give some values to certain variables and just different things like that. So we're going to talk about two different types of functions. There's different ways of implementing functions in different manner, but we're going to focus on the two. Int main is actually a main function. Int main is a function. If we try to do something like in here, let's get rid of these. Let's say I want to do int Ninja Man, and I want to do it like this. Okay, well here is considered a function. Okay, well you might think, whoa, ain't that a variable? Because the variable don't take any parameters. It's just a variable with a name equal to a value or whatever. So a function can take parameters, right? So that's what this inside is. In other words, function definition for Ninja Man was not found. Well, this is we're creating a function, but we want to define it somewhere, right? So we want to use it. So we want to go int Ninja Man, and we want to now open and close brackets. Now remember, if it's an int style function, we always want to return 0 with it. If I say, for example, that I don't even put that here and I just try to build it, it's going to give me an error. See? Now we'll see Ninja Man must return a value. Now if we gave it a set of parameters, we could return the parameters here within the int Ninja Man function. We don't have to particularly return them in another file. We would like to return them right here, right? We want to analyze them in wherever we choose inside different functions, but this function, if it takes so many parameters, we just want to return them. So, but we don't, we don't have any parameters, so we just want to return 0, and that's an int function. If we build it, it'll be just fine. It'll build successfully, and we're good to go. Now, if we decide to want to talk about something, and let's get rid of that. Here's the next style of function that you're going to be relevantly seeing more and more of, is a void. Now, a void function is mainly just a function that doesn't return a value at all. Okay, and it's universal, really. So if you, and it's usually particularly don't have any, you can give it a set of parameters and use it as such. You could even return those parameters within the void function, but mainly what you're doing is you're just not returning the function, but just, well, we're not returning a value. Sorry, I have something in my window there called my, anyway, but say we want to go goo man, and we don't want to give it any parameters. We just want to leave it like that. Well, if you notice, like before, it says here we haven't given this function a definition yet. So remember how we did the definition? So we want to, now here's what I want you to understand. We can't, I don't really know though. Hang on, let me make sure though. Let me just make sure of that first, okay? And let me see if it throws an error or not. Okay, so it really don't. Usually I always put the function up above it. I always remember a long time ago I used to always have to put my functions either above the int main or below it. I could be in a C thing, so not a C++ thing. When you hear talking about if somebody says C+, there's not any such language unless there's something new out there. It's actually C++. So it's a C with 2 plus signs, or it's just CPP. Okay, remember that. So anybody studying C++, it's just C++, CPP, or .C, right? So just keep that in mind. And now this is, now if we decide to return 0, I want you to look what happens. We can't return anything because it doesn't match the function type. The return value doesn't. This return 0 is not relevant for a void function because, like I said before, hey, it doesn't return a value. So we can't do it like that. Now, I just want to give this some parameters for us. So let's actually do int int kite and then a comma. Now we can add multiple parameters in here. Now, what's parameters? All right, parameters are basically like variables. They're just a function. You give a function something to work with, like you give a man some tools to work with, and when he gets done building whatever it is, that's the code body. That's whatever he done was inside that body. So if he goes over there, hey, I want you to build a shed, man. Okay, where's my tools? Okay, here's your tools, and here's some information about the tools. Get started. And then guess what? Once he gets finished with the house, that's our code body. That's all of our code inside this function of what it's supposed to do. Well, the man created a house. That's exactly what he done because we gave him the information, the tools to do it. So think of it like that. So if we would do constant char times hit, and then say we also do we do a float. No, we don't want to give it anything like that. And then that's all we want to do. Now what I want to do is I want to actually right click these and copy them, and I want to paste them into here so that way we have a direct match. Now instead of saying, well, what's kite, what's the hit value to on a string, and what's the float's numeric value for, right? Well, we can do kit is equal to 23, and then our hit is equal to goo or go, and then our float g name is equal to 32.0f, right? And now we want to return, say we want to return these. Well, if you remember, a void function don't return a value, but we can return the parameters if we wanted it to. Say for example, we want the computer to say, hey, this is a void function. It don't return anything, but it can return the parameters that it's given to me based off of this function. Oh, computer's like, oh, kit is equal to this. Well, hit's equal to that, and name is equal to that, or gname. And then, whoa, it's okay. So he's telling me now to, to return these three in the return statement. So when it jumps down to this function and we use this function call and maybe a specific mechanic on the menu or something, it goes to it. It does the same thing we just said, and once it returns, it does what it does, and then once the player or the person gives more input, it skips on past and goes to the next function to do what it was specifically meant to do within the code. So think of it like that. But how do we do that? Well, we just do go ggo man and give it a parenthesis, and inside of here we just go kit comma and then hit comma and then g name, and then that's it. Now if we save this, we compile, we done successful. Nothing was said, everything done right. So that's how we give parameters to voids. They're the same way here, except you could return them here if you wanted to. Doesn't really matter, but int main is a main entry point. We usually give this a set of parameters to use, but if I don't use any of those types of parameters, I don't ever use them. But for this sake, simplifying it, we'll keep it the way it is. I hope it didn't confuse you a little bit. Functions sometimes confuses some people, but that's really all you're really going to be doing. Int main, your entry point, returning values, analyzing variables, learning about the two most common function types, parameters for each function, how to analyze those parameters, how to return those parameters in voids and ints, how to generate strings on the console, how to not have it auto close on us, how to get a project started, how to find a project file, how to create source files, how to generate header files, how to make it cleaner code particularly. So yeah, that's pretty how to debug it, how to build it, right click, build it. It succeeded. Everything we just learned is straightforward. It's all there, ready to go, and you're pretty much ready to get with it. So that's the mere basics. Mess around with that. In the next series, we're going to be jumping into the more intermediate, and it'll be a little bit longer series. And then once we get into Pro, it'll be even more longer. So it'll be several different episodes. They're just going to keep getting longer. But if you're curious about learning, I have the time in between each thing, so If it helps you out, great. And if it doesn't, just keep practicing. You get it. I've been practicing for several years, so it just comes to you after a while. You get used to it. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next series. Have a good one.